Welcome to episode 13 of the Renault Master Camper Conversion. In this episode we're going to be designing and fitting the kitchen, and you're going to want to start by doing a floor plan. I've had to do this previously because I needed to know where the front of the kitchen was going to end to build the bench, and I've also planned where the bathroom was going, which will be where the kitchen starts. So the bathroom's done here, space in between was the kitchen and the bench is here. I had to plan all this to make sure the layout was going to work before I started building anything. So now that the layout was done and it's planned on the floor, we're going to move on to building. I put this rail in first, and it's a bit bigger than I normally would do to sit a worktop on. And the reason being is because this part of the bench is just freestanding at the moment. So I'm going to put a cross rail this way, which supports this. So when sitting on the bench and you lean on the side, it's not going to break and be flappy. It's just going to add some structural support to the bench, as well as double up for the worktop to sit on. One of the first things I fitted in the kitchen is the fridge, and the reason being is I wanted to build the framework around it, and I didn't want a rail running across the top like this. So I put two walls either side, and it's lucky that I ordered this and built the framework at the same time because the door opens wider than the unit. So I've had to put a block in here which allows the door to open, and then enough room for the cladding on the side of the step. And then I've put a piece of timber on the other side to screw the fridge to, because the fixings for the fridge are quite far back. So that is fitted, and now I can move on with my bench. I've been working on the bathroom, but I've had to stop that just to put a timber in here. This one. This is where the kitchen, worktop and units end. So any cladding that goes on there will need something to fix to, and then I can fix my wall panels for the kitchen on there too. So now that's done, I'm going to move back on to finishing the bathroom wall on the inside. I've started fitting the kitchen now, so I'm not actually going to put units in, I'm just going to make my own. This is acting as an end panel, and then a bit of board will go on here, essentially, which will be my unit, and that's where my hinges screw to. And then the other side, obviously I had to buy a full end panel, so use that pit there to act as the side of the cupboard. Worktop sits on top and the door closes against that, which allows just enough room for the cladding to go in there. I need to fit my diesel heater down the bottom there, so I'm going to do that first, and then I'll carry on with building these cupboards. So my diesel heater has been fitted. This means I can now carry on with building my kitchen cupboard. I'm using an actual shelf for a kitchen cupboard because it has two little holes in the bottom. I actually had one spare left over from my kitchen. This is a Howdens kitchen, and I'm just using the original shelf hangers that come with the units. I'm not actually using a unit, I'm building a custom one. I'm using the end panels. I managed to get both sides out of one end panel, and then I built this shelf which is going to be the base of my unit, and then I've just got to build another little platform at the bottom there just for the door to stop against, and then the plinth will go on the front. I had to build the shelf a little bit higher than the plinth would be in the door because of the heater, and I've left 2 inches above the heater for air circulation. So I'm going to carry on with doing that now, but I had to use a bit of ply to support the other side. This side just has these little shelf hangers. This is how I'm doing the bottom. So this is where the door closes against. So this acts as the bottom of the cupboard. And then this is the shelf, which is really the bottom of the cupboard. So I just put some ply squares there so the top can screw down, and then the kickboard can push against it. I need to put the hole in for the heater, but I'm not bothered about that yet. So now that cupboard's ready for the door. Well, actually, it's not ready yet. I've got to put the side of the cupboard on here. This is acts as an end panel, and then there's the side wall of the cupboard, which is only a small bit because I want that bit open to put a shelf in. So I've got my side piece on here now, which effectively acts as the side of the cupboard. I've actually got a Howdens kitchen at home, so I transferred all the measurements from the units onto this piece, and then got my hinges in the right place. It did end up right where that shelf is, so I'm going to have to move this shelf up by 20 millimeters. I'd rather go up than down because I need to leave adequate ventilation space around the diesel heater, which is underneath it. So I'll sort that out tomorrow. I did put a piece of ply in the side there to support it, but I've got a better idea now. I'm going to put another piece of board up here, which goes to the height of the shelf, which is inside this cupboard. I've already cut the piece there, and then that gives enough clearance for my water heater to go in underneath. Okay, so this is my revised cupboard. I've moved these up 20mm. I put in this side piece, and this means that I could use these shelf hanging brackets. I had to drill a hole here to release the clip for the hinge. They have little quick releases on the back. So yeah, that's a lot better than it originally was, and this also doubles up as the supports for this shelf. I've also put a little support there, and then the side of that wall will be the support of the shelf too. So that's pretty much my cupboard's built, unless I put any more shelves in. Not sure yet. I'm going to put this all together, put the door on, and then I can think about getting some worktops on top. That is the kitchen cupboards complete. We also have rear access to this cupboard in here. I might just put some iron-on edging on the chipboard there, and also been thinking about cutting a box out of here and slotting in a basket or something, so we've got a bit more storage. There's a bit of space underneath, and obviously the kitchen sink will take up some of this room higher in the cupboard. But for now, the structure is complete, and I will be concentrating on getting a worktop in. I might have to just do one more last thing, which is putting a rail across the front here. So I'm going to look at doing all this stuff now. I've cut my worktop and fitted it in there. It fits, so I've partially cut the sink out, and then I've just put these little connector blocks to screw it down to. So I'm going to get it in there, screw it down, and then I'll finish cutting out the sink. And the reason I'm doing it like that is because it's a bit tricky getting it in there, and I don't want to snap the front or the back rails of the worktop because they're only going to be thin. So I'm going to do that, get it in, screw it down, and then cut it out. My worktop is now fitted, so I'm ready to complete cutting out the sink. I've screwed a piece of timber at the front there, which is supporting the back of the cutout, and I've screwed it to the actual part of the worktop that's going to be fixed in, and then I'll just hold the front as I cut through. Also got this little structural component. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it in. It does go in, but it's a difficult job. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that in like that, but I'll get that in a minute and cut this worktop out. And then that's job done, ready for the sink. That is my worktop done. There's just one last little job to do, which would be to seal these edges here with PVA mixed with water. The reason we do that is if any water gets past the seal on the kitchen sink, then it will start to swell up the chipboard. So if we seal it, that will protect it. Also, we had to cut a little bit wider here because I don't know if you saw, I had to put it in at an angle and put it in, so I needed that there. But we're going to build a cupboard around this anyway. There's going to be cladding on here and cladding over this, so that when the bed closes, it's hidden, kind of like this side. So the bracket is hidden behind the bench. We're going to put some sort of cladding on here. Probably a little cupboard door here. I don't know yet. We're still planning it, but I'm happy with how it's come out so far. I've just placed my sink in there for the moment, because one thing I need to do is drill a hole for the waste on the floor. Now I'm going to put it on the other side of this shelf, because this shelf won't be able to come out once the sink is in, I think. So this shelf needs to be removable to get to this. So I think it would be better to put it on the other side there, so it's not obstructing anything in here. So I'm now going to go around to the back of the van and drill a hole down next to the heater, send a screw through and just see if it's in a good place. But before I do that, I'm just going to quickly have a look under for a quick visual. It's about 15 inches across, 8 inches back from the center of that, which will be the center of the exhaust and the air intake. So it gives me something to reference from, just a quick measurement. If it's all good, I'll drill a hole, send a screw through, go and double check that it's in a good place, and if it's in a decent place, then I'll drill a hole for my waste pipe to go through. There is my screw, and there is my wastewater tank. So that's in a perfect position. I'm going to drill that out, and then I can move forward. So I fitted my sink inlet and my waste outlet, so I'm going to connect up my sink inlet now to the sink waste pipe. That is my sink waste connected up. Now this is just 21.5mm overflow pipe, which is actually a household plumbing pipe. if I ever need to remove this tank, I can just cut this pipe here and then put a solvent coupler on. You glue these pipes together with solvent weld, or compression if it's possible to get one. I don't think I've seen one, but I normally use solvent because it's normally a permanent fixture. But yeah, this tank could be removed, so we can just cut it and then fix it again later. That's not a problem. Next thing to do is to connect up my outlet. Now I've got an electric valve to go in here, but I'm not going to deal with this at the moment. I've got other stuff to do, it's more important, and I want to get my plumbing live. The reason I've done this is because my kitchen sink is in, so I want to get my plumbing live so I can test it all. My kitchen is finished as much as I'm going to do it for now because I'm out on the road. So I've had to put a little catch on here to stop the door from banging open and closed when we're driving. Haven't even put the door handle on yet. As soon as I got the van sort of workable, usable, livable, we left for an adventure around Scandinavia. So we've obviously got our kitchen sink in, which is one of the important things we need. We've got cold water, hot water, and then the shower, the tap head switches, and it also pulls out like that, so it's pretty cool. Has a built-in soap dispenser as well for space saving, just to stop things from falling over, and then we have this like draining board which is built in, like slides back and forth, and yeah, it's removable, and we can twist it around the other way as well to make it lengthways of the sink. And then obviously the worktop, and then this is our storage. Now there's going to be cupboards here, but I didn't have time to finish this all. We didn't want to spend all summer building the van for it to be ready in the winter, so we've just got it livable, and now we are out on the road enjoying it.